morning and good afternoon to another episode of Before Coffee. It is Friday. Happy Friday, everyone. We made it through another week, and we're here to dump all the news you need to know before the weekend so you don't gotta worry about it. This is the first and only international game show, Before Coffee, a father and daughter news podcast where we look up our stories right before the show. We just got caffeine in our bodies, and we're learning to read and speak live on stream. Let's read our final headlines of the week and roll that segue wheel. Today on Friday's News Dump. 5 years into a fishing ban, the Yangzhi River is teeming with life. Plus, elephants' peculiar whiskers help them sense the world around them, according to a new study.
Happy Friday from America. We're going to talk about stinking clowns tariffs and how they cost the average American $1,000 last year. And what the hell happened in El Paso's airspace earlier this week? We'll try to get some answers.
For my Black History Month section on this Friday, we're going to talk about something that happened I think on Sunday on this day in history, but we're not going to be doing the show on Sunday. Muhammad Ali is beaten by Leon Spinks. Who the hell is Leon Spinks? We're going to talk about him. Plus, a Scottish SNP has been charged with 8 court charges.
Court charges? That's very specific. And we're going to talk about the Olympics, and people have been banned for using the wrong wax on their snowboards. And a grand jury throws out the ridiculous indictments of 6 people in Congress, and now a judge blasts the Secretary of Defense for even bringing the charges in the first place.
In my culture news, the Bernal 2026 has started, with politics and protests dominating the film festival's opening ceremony.
Okay, and it's Galentine's Day. That's right. I think that's a day where everybody goes out and, all of the women go out and get sloshed or something. Anyway, it's Galentine's Day, February 13th, 2026. I'm Before Coffee.
Are you a gal? Do you want to get sloshed? I've never been sloshed. I've been lucky enough to never experience being sloshed.
Yeah, if you ever want to get lucky, you just go up and, hey, gal, how's this doing? I bet you that works. Aren't you a nice looking gal? I bet you that works for wonders.
Let's get sloshed.
Sloshed, just another word for, forgetting your name and your intelligence actually whatever. I don't know. Sloshed.
It's sloshed.
I think people know what that means.
Yeah, they do.
Well, it's National Cheddar Day, but
ooh. Real cheddar, not that American cheddar, that fake cheese.
It's National No One Eats Alone Day. Well, I'm not reserving that. I will be eating alone as I do it.
You never eat alone. There's a song by BTS called Never Walk Alone. So, you never eat alone.
There's a famous song called You'll Never Walk Alone, and it's sung by specifically the Liverpool Soccer Club.
Oh, and really?
Famous. I
had no idea.
It's famously the end of that Pink Floyd song, Fearless. That's a song they're singing at the end.
It's a chant, a soccer chant, or I should say a football chant.
It's a song. It's an actual song that the Liverpool club started singing. And I guess that was, I don't know, Roger Waters' favorite soccer club or something. I'm sorry, football club.
Segue wheel.
Speaking American.
And hopefully it reminds me of a song, and we can just talk about that song for 10 more minutes.
I'll just sing
it's accurate metaphor or simile. This whole section is going to be about animals. Our first animal is the fish. The delicious fish that did not get eaten in China because they banned fishing in the river. I'm sure people were still fishing illegally, but this is probably more of like, you know, career fishers, you know, who just troll up all the fish and sell them on the market. That wasn't happening. Hopefully. This is by Johnny Sturgeon on Inside Climate News. Following almost
Johnny Sturgeon?
Yep.
Did you say Johnny Sturgeon?
Yes, Johnny Sturgeon. This is a real article, okay? Flowing almost 4,000 miles from the Tibetan Plateau to the East China Sea, the Yangtze is China's mother river. I mean, one of their oldest civilization was on the Yangtze River. From the emerald green rice paddies of Hunan to the industrial hubs of Wuhan and Shanghai, the river basin generates 40% of the nation's economic output. That's pretty big. Yet 70 years of rapid development had, until recently, wreaked havoc on its delicate marine ecosystem. Fish biomass in the Yangtze has now more than doubled, while endangered species are making a return, according to research released Thursday, which was the 12th of February in Science. So if you want to read the whole research, check out the journal Science for more information. These early signs of recovery follow an unprecedented decade-long commercial fishing ban introduced in 2021. The findings suggest similar bold policy. Why did I say decade-long when it was in 2021? It's not 31 yet. Are you being a little preemptive on the decade-long ban? I think they're saying it's planned to be until 2031. But it's just funny to say that. Like, it's been a decade since. The findings suggest similar bold policies could catalyze ecological recovery in large-scale rivers like the Mekong or even the Amazon. Also, good morning, Dorina. I hope you're having a good Friday. I am always impressed by the resilience of nature when given space and the time to recover, said Stephen Cook, a fisheries professor at Galentine University and study co-author. There have been other restoration projects on the rivers in the past, but none have included a total fishing ban. That is unique. The Yangtze River Protection Law, implemented a 10-year ban running the length of the river until 2030, is following decades of biodiversity loss and the disappearance of 135 freshwater species. Just imagine you go into a river and all you can find is bass. There used to be 135 other fish in there, and now it's just bass. Or, I don't even know. I think they have bass in the Yangtze River. I think that's the most common fish species in the river is a bass. What is the other thing? It starts with a T. Trout. Maybe it's a trout. The Yangtze trout, the only fish left, including the iconic Yangtze River dolphin. A dolphin? That's not a fish. That's a mammal. And the Chinese paddlefish. Ooh, the Chinese paddlefish. Does it look like a paddle? God, it looks kind of like a sturgeon, funnily enough. It has a very long nose. It doesn't look anything like a paddle. Like, maybe if you held it by its nose, you could use it as a paddle. I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. That's right. That's right. Yeah. When your paddle breaks, you catch one of those fish and you can use it as a paddle.
And then it'll just kick its fins for you and then you can get home. Yeah. Assessing fish stocks before and after the ban, an international team of researchers compared biomass and diversity across 57 sections of the river. They found a 209% increase in overall fish biomass and a 13% increase in species richness. 209%. That's like 4 times. 2 times? No. 100% is double. 200% is 4 times. That's a lot of fish, or biomass in general, right? Fish biomass in general, just, hey, we're here. Larger fish, those longer than 7.5 inches, appear to have benefited the most, with their numbers increasing at the highest rates, probably because there's more smaller fish for them to eat. This includes species like the valuable black armored bream. Well-stocked apex predators are a critical indicator of a healthy food web. That means there's enough lower food that they can create more babies. Migratory species like the slender-tongued sole also appear to be rebounding, finally able to reach critical habitats without being intercepted by nets. For endangered species like the Yangtze sturgeon, Yet again, the author of this article is named Johnny Sturgeon, and the Chinese sucker, that's the other fish scientist on this website. The ban brought immediate stock improvements. However, researchers were almost excited by the Yangtze finless porpoise, which is... Porpoise are not fish. Aren't porpoise also mammals? Yeah, they're also a dolphin-like species, yeah. The culturally significant marine mammal saw its population jump from 445 to 595. Pretty nice increase, more than 100. The improvement in the conditions, including both habitat and food for the iconic Yangtze finless porpoise, said lead author and fisheries researcher Fangguan Xiong. With more free space and prey, this mascot in environmental conservation and subject of ancient Chinese poetry appears to be benefiting most from the first of its kind ban. While the rise is primarily linked to reduced fishing mortality, other pressures have eased. Researchers highlighted improved water quality and significant reduction in underwater noise from boat propellers. Yeah, I mean, also dumping, right? People are dumping stuff into rivers, maybe even dumping fish guts into rivers, which I think probably is good. I don't think that's what they mean by water quality, but if there's less people, leaking oil into the water's going to get better. The success also came at a human cost. The ban requires recalling 111,000 fishing boats and resetting 231,000 fishermen who had long depended on the Yangtze for life. The biggest take-home is, let's do a better job of managing our freshwater rivers so we can never have to consider full fishing bans as the medicine, said Cook. Although this seems to have been effective here, the collateral damage to the fishing communities is immense. People probably moved away, right? And there's less people living around the river now. 19 years since the first seasonal fishing ban was implemented to protect spawning fish in the Yangtze, the extension through 2030 remains a bold strategy to restore one of Earth's most significant waterways, the study's authors conclude. So that's the story on the fish returning to the Yangtze. I wouldn't say it's one of the oldest rivers, because I don't know if you can actually grade how old a river is, but at least some of the oldest civilizations grew up around the river, for sure.
Yep, and the only metaphor for this is the only universal metaphor for things being in the wrong place at the wrong time, which is the fish out of water. The fish out of water metaphor. Dolphins don't belong in the Yangtze River. They're a fish out of water. Not literally, but figuratively. And almost literally, they're in water, but they're not...
They're not fish. They're mammals in water. Fish out of water, mammals in water.
Metaphor. Yeah, that's why it's a metaphor, not literal.
My next story is a shorter one, and it's about a study that's realized the power of elephants' whiskers. That's right. What do those little whiskers do? The pachyderm whiskers, this is by K.R. Calloway on Scientific American. The pachyderm whiskers are more flexible at the tip than the base, allowing elephants to complete delicate tasks with their incredibly strong tusks. So they use their whiskers on their trunks as a kind of feeler. Watching an elephant forage for roots or eat reveals just how strong yet sensitive its trunk is. An elephant's more than 40,000 trunk muscles can upend trees and follow it up with gently collecting the fragments that fell. It takes baby elephants nearly a year to master using their trunks in this way, and it's taken humans even longer to understand how they're able to do it. The secret may come down to the elephant's whiskers. Now, researchers who analyze the whiskers aligning these animals' trunks have discovered a unique structural property that helps elephants sense the world around them and determine whether a task calls for strength or sensitivity. In a study published in Science, so you can read 2 studies in Science today, researchers reveal that unlike the whiskers of other mammals, those of elephants are more flexible at the tip and stiffer closer to the skin. This observation clarifies how the unique structure of animals' whiskers informs elephants' umwelt, or their individual sensory and perceptual experience of the world. It's like when you play that game where you put your hand in a box and you're like, what is this? Just from feeling it. They can do that with their trunk. We found elephants are like aliens. said Andrew Schultz, lead author and haptic intelligence researcher at the Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems. They have these horn-like whiskers with a stiffness and gradient. That was puzzling. Because elephants have such rough, armor-like skin, researchers knew the whiskers on their trunk were likely doing a lot of sensory work, unlike our skin, which is quite soft, so we can feel a lot with our fingers. To allow the animals to interact delicately with the world around them. But to truly understand these tiny filaments, researchers need a much closer look. Using a CT scanner specially built for small objects, Schultz and his colleagues created a digital rendering of the elephant's whisker to analyze their structure from the inside out. Then, using other imaging and chemical tests, they were able to further analyze the whisker's structure and hardness. The part of the whisker close to the elephant's skin is very strong and porous. The tip of the whisker, meanwhile, is much more flexible and denser, kind of like a cat's whisker, right? They're very, very light and flexible. Wanting to understand the mechanics of this unique form, the researchers 3D printed a supersized version of the whisker with an accurate density gradient to feel for themselves. I was walking down the hallway and hitting things with a whisker, and I had this true eureka moment, said Catherine K. Kuchenbecker, senior author of the study and director of the Haptic Intelligence Department at the Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems. She noticed that the hitting something hard with the dense base of the whisker felt more solid and crisp than hitting something with the duller end. The difference in the hardness allows Kuchenbecker to get a sense of objects' contours without her skin even touching them. Elephants use their trunks to breathe, smell, grab things, communicate, and even perceive objects outside their line of sight, and the whiskers help shape all of those experiences. In addition to providing a glimpse into the perceptual world of elephants, Schultz and his team have made a toolkit with their data available and hope that the unique structure of the elephant whisker will inspire researchers in other disciplines. They are particularly interested in seeing how materials with stiffness gradient, like an elephant whisker, could be applied to robotics. Maintaining machine strength while being soft enough to not damage the materials they interact with is a major challenge of robotics. Yeah, grab that egg, robot. Oh. They got crushed. That's not good for our egg factory. This study is a fabulous example of interdisciplinary science, says John Hutchinson, an evolutionary biomechanics professor at the University of London's Royal Veterinary College. It is an elegant neuroscience, anatomy, and mechanics. There you go. We discovered something new about whiskers and how we can use that to fill the world. Or I should say, elephants do it. But maybe robots in the future can.
But is it really new? Because there's an old saying, the old saying goes, they've got me by the short hairs. And that
yep, of course.
That's the most sensitive hairs they can have me by is them short ones. There you go. There's your metaphor.
I get it all the time. I have this really interesting sensitivity myself with my arm hairs. When I'm laying down and sleeping, I kind of like to cuddle myself with my arm. But then if I breathe on my arm hairs, it's just too much sensation, so I have to stop. Like it just too much data being sent to my brain because I'm feeling my breath on my arm hairs.
That might be your central nervous system because I remember when I was a kid, when I was a kid, I know I have stenosis. I don't know if you do or not, but I have it, and I was apparently born with it. But when I was a kid, I remember having this really bad tingling sensation all in my body, and if anybody touched me, I was like, touch me! Oh yeah, I remember that very, very vividly. Like, oh my God, am I tingling all the time? Because I was losing my sense of touch because of I was a little kid, I was still growing, so I don't know. I grew out of that somehow, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I think it's common. Everyone has a little sensitivity and stuff.
But I have stenosis. There's no gap between bone and nerve in my spine, in my lumbar. So I don't know any kind of arthritis I have causes me to get paralyzed. It's fun.
Let's roll our next segue.
Yeah,
it's not fun. I'm just laughing
down.
because
not to drag everybody down.
No, it's painful. You gotta laugh through the pain, I guess.
Yeah, I don't even recognize pain. I don't even recognize painlessness. I don't recognize painlessness anymore. What is this? I'm not in pain. Weird. I better not move. Anyway.
Our next segue is mixed metaphor.
Mixed metaphor! Another metaphor. We're all metaphors today. Seems like we roll that a lot. Okay, we're going to talk about the short and sweet article first, which is ABC News, and somebody has calculated that Diaper Donnie's tariffs has cost American households $1,000 each last year. For Elizabeth Schultze of ABC News, the Tax Foundation, that's who did it, said the costs may be even higher this year. President Sticky the Clown's tariffs cost the average American household $1,000 last year, which I don't have $1,000 to piss away. Do you? I don't. I definitely don't. Maybe rich people think that's nothing, but not us poor people. According to the new research from the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation, the cost is set to go even higher this year to $1,300 per household, assuming the existing tariffs stay in place, the research said. The research called Trump's tariffs the largest U.S. tax increase as a percentage of GDP since 1993. Of course, in 1993, Bill Clinton raised taxes on the filthy rich only. Just wanted to point that out. It suggests that the president's signature economic policy is exacerbating the cost of living concerns at a time when many households are grappling with persistently high prices. According to research think tank Tax Foundation, the federal government collected $268 billion in total tariff revenues in 2025, far short of the trillions regularly touted by the White House. 264 billion is exactly 0.264 trillion. So it's not even a little over a quarter of a trillion. So he said 5 trillion, I believe. Nope, not 5 trillion, by the way. Consumers pay these taxes, not the people that are, paying them at the checkpoints. In other words, you're paying them. They transfer the cost onto you. Yeah. They're not in business to lose money, folks. Just understand that part. Gee, I think I'll go to business and lose money. Nobody says that. The research finds that tariffs will offset most of the economic benefits of the new tax cuts. Of course, the new tax cuts are only for rich people. And, he cut taxes on tips, which is complete horseshit, don't exist. If you work at a job for tips, you don't pay taxes anyway. You end up getting a refund at the end of the year. It's just a complete horseshit. And no tax on overtime, not a thing. Never passed. It was never a thing. Americans' average tariff rate has increased by nearly tenfold in the past year, while inflation has actually cooled. I don't trust the inflation data the government puts out because they fired a bunch of people, so let's not even go there. Real wages have risen, they say. GDP growth has accelerated, but GDP growth does not mean you made more money. It just means the overall country is producing things, wealth for somebody. That's what it means. And trillions of investments continue pouring in to make and hire America, White House spokesman somebody said, a statement to ABC News, which is just complete lies. Tariffs, which fluctuated through 2025, a U.S. struck trade deals primarily affected by the cost of electronics, toys, cars that aren't manufactured domestically, which is most, and foods that are grown abroad. The price of coffee rose by 33%. That's one of the things I use all the time. Ground beef, I had to give up ground beef mostly. 19.3. Romaine lettuce, I don't even buy lettuce anymore. Frozen orange juice, I haven't bought in a long damn time. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, frozen orange juice went up by 12%, lettuce by 16%, ground beef by 19%, and coffee by 33%. That's way more than inflation. The Tax Foundation shows that the average effective tariff rate in the U.S. has surged from 2% in 24 to around 10% in 25, the highest since 1946. 1946 was post-war, immediately post-war, and I guarantee you them tariffs went bye-bye because we needed a post-war economic boom. And again, tariffs do nothing but raise prices. Let's have us a metaphor for the stupidity that is the Sticky the Clown's tariff policy. A mixed metaphor.
A mixed metaphor. Really sounds like we're counting the change before the chicken lays its egg.
That's right. Exactly. So
that's our mixed metaphor.
What's your mixed reaction?
My mixed reaction? Maybe.
Wait, oh my God, and laughing. That's kind of.
Oh, yeah.
It was Homer. You can't count on him for. Okay, and we're going to go into a story we reported on earlier this week. I think it was Weird Wednesday. It was only 2 days ago.
Yeah.
We talked about the El
Update on
Paso
that.
airport is closed for something. Yeah. What's that?
We're getting an update on that.
Yeah, it's an update. We hope it's an update. I heard the rumor that it was a party balloon. I hope that's not what it was, but I suspect that's exactly what happened. Sigh. Big sigh from this old guy because I am really tired of living in a country that is just fucking stupid. This is from James Fallows from his Substack. So James Fallows is fallows.substack.com. Maybe I'll start posting on Substack, right? I got a lot to say, right? Why not? This is a 9-11 minute article. We'll try to cut it down. The area, it's a picture caption. I'm just looking at the picture of, it covered all of Juarez, but most of Juarez too, right? That's weird. Okay, how can you create a no-fly zone in another country? Is pretty bizarre. The area of the FAA hastily declared as a 10-day no-fly zone over El Paso this week. The episode posed no immediate risk to people of El Paso or elsewhere, but revealed profoundly dangerous attitudes. Okay. This post is a Q&A about the sudden closure of the El Paso airport 2 days ago. Based on evidence available so far, it appears that a combination of arrogance, ignorance, and sheer incompetence. Yep. That pretty much describes Trump in a nutshell. Lay behind a potentially major disruption in air travel, potentially bigger problems in the future. Here's my sense of what we know now. 2 days ago, or 2.5 days ago, on late Tuesday evening, the FAA issued a emergency NOTAM, or notice to airmen, prohibiting all commercial and general aviation flights to and from El Paso Airport in far west Texas. Yeah, we know where El Paso is, buddy. The shutdown was originally
people might not
announced.
know where that is.
I'm just saying, man. Get it? Yeah. I hope people got educations that are reading these articles. I just hope, right? You know, the shutdown was originally announced at 10 days until February 21st. They said it would last until February 21st. During that time, no passenger, cargo, medical, and other flights would be allowed to operate in and out of the city, a city of nearly 700,000 people. And let's not forget the cities that are next to it, like Santa Teresa. As detailed below, this is more drastic than most other emergency flight restrictions in most other cities, which have generally allowed airline and emergency aircraft to operate under close supervision of air traffic control. The reliable VAS aviation site, using audio from liveatc.net, captures the moment when Southwest crew just landed on Tuesday night and learns that it won't be able to leave till the next day. Or leave the next day. The exchange occurs in the first minute. Well, there's a video clip I'm not going to play. But here's what goes on. The El Paso Tower controller asks the crew, which is taxiing toward the gate, if they're planning to take off again quickly. The crew says no. On the contrary, they're just headed to the hotel. The controller says, just be advised that quite soon the airport will be completely shut down and remain closed for the next 10 days. So there's the whole thing, and you don't hear it back and forth. It's basically, the pilot laughs at the absurdity of all and then says, okay, thanks for the heads up. Anyway, the controllers in El Paso are taken by surprise. The Southwest crew is taken by surprise. The controller guessed that Southwest Airlines as a whole might also be taken by surprise. And she asked the pilot the password onto his company. Sure, if you look at an aviation chart of the U.S., you'll first be impressed by the sheer beauty of the topographic display. Then you closer look, the more you'll see the intricate patchwork of airspace designation, each with its own regulations, flight rules, restrictions, and cautions. For instance, there's a close-up of the area around Palm Beach, Florida. The red circles are temporary flight restrictions, or TFRs, which accompany a president, wherever he goes. One of these is shown centered on Mar-a-Lago for the Stinky the Clown's mansion. Some airspace regulations involve orderly flow of traffic in the big airports. Some of them are warnings about military training areas or info about finding out whether they are currently hot with artillery or aircraft fire. Some of them are strictly no-go instructions, either permanent or temporary. For instance, there's a permanent prohibited airspace zone over most of downtown Washington, from the Lincoln Memorial to the Capitol, the Supreme Court. Not even airlines taking off or landing or the DCA are allowed to fly in airspace. This is why I hate that airport. It's got really short runways, and your takeoffs, you take off sideways. Like, you're sideways right away. You know, fuck that. I hate that airport. It's only there for Congress, and they're the only ones that ever should use it. That's all I got to say. For nearly 25 years since the 9/11 attacks, much of Greater DC has been under very large special flight rules. Now let's get back to El Paso. Let's stop talking about other shit, please. Thank you. Let's see. He goes on to a lot of shit the FAA does, and he says, he concludes, thus everything about the FAA is organized with planning in mind. Most special airspace has not been there for a long time. When the TFRs pop up, the authorities give you as much advance word as possible, usually several days ahead. That was the first oddity about this measure. It was issued at 0332 Universal Time on February 11. That means 8:32 p.m. in El Paso, Tuesday night. And it was slated to go in effect just 3 hours later. Why did this short notice matter? Imagine an airline or a private plane, a 4-hour flight to El Paso might taken off with no sign of trouble, only to learn en route that it would not be allowed to land. And of course,
that sounded annoying.
And of course, there's also vagueness. TFRs are usually accompanied by an explanation or a reason, the Super Bowl, or a VIP movement, or special security reasons. Mm-hmm. That is a boilerplate language for some TFRs. This one was the usual fast-changing public explanations or reason behind it. They ain't telling anybody shit. The TFRs usually last for a few hours. This one was scheduled for 10 days. Makes no sense. Again, the only comparison would be after 9/11. 9/11 airspace was not even closed for 10 days. I was one of the first persons on a plane. I'm pretty sure it started about the 15th or something like that. I'll look it up, but initial order also said the greater El Paso was national defense airspace. Well, that's always been true. It's a frickin' air base. There's a U.S. Army air base right there called Biggs Airfield. There's a U.S. Army tank battalion that used to be headquartered there. Yeah. Fort Bliss. And just north of there is a giant missile range called the White Sands. So yeah, that airspace, a lot of it's restricted. Not directly or immediately. Planes inbound to El Paso would proceed safely normally, unless they were scheduled to arrive around 11:30 p.m., in which case they would have been rerouted to Albuquerque or Austin or freaking Lubbock or something. The indirect safety hazards are a different story. Okay, so this is why El Paso officials were quick and passionate in their objections, and they were relieved when the 10-day restriction was shortened to 1 day, and we still don't have the reason. So we went through all that. We didn't get to the bottom of it, but long story short, somebody saw a party balloon, thought it was a UFO. Somebody lost their fucking shit. Well, we'll get to the bottom of this someday, but I haven't heard anything other than it was one of them party balloons in the air. Other than that, I don't know. So we still didn't get to the bottom of it. And
like the Chinese weather balloon drama that happened a couple years back. Probably a decade at this point.
But nobody closed it. No airspace was closed for that. The one they did, well, maybe there was. I don't remember. Well, it definitely wasn't a whole airport for 10 days. That just wasn't happening. I first heard this when their member of Congress, who I know personally, is one of my teachers in community college, Veronica Escobar, who I follow on Facebook or somewhere. Gotta know, why is my airport closed? What the hell? Nobody's told me anything. I'm a member of Congress. You know? That, and of course the comments are all, what are you doing in Congress? Go do your job. Like, she's doing her job. Why is my airport closed? I was like, people in the comments.
I'm just a low-level official, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just a member of Congress and out here in El Paso, lowly as shit. Oh, yeah. There's your story. Let's have a metaphor for the malfeasance and stupidity of the Trump administration, because it ain't going to stop for another 3 years.
That's not what I wrote about, but that party balloon is like an airport, both vibrant, launch pads filled with excitement of new journeys. That lifts the spirits in the endless skies of possibility. Of what possibly reason they closed the airport. The endless skies a possibility of why did we close a 10-day air zone? The mystery continues.
Spin the wheel. I'm going to ask AI how long the airports were closed in 9/11. I'm just going to have to ask. I'm going to close my mic. I'm going to close my mic and ask.
Let's re-roll because it's more metaphor. We already did that. Come on, wheel. You got this. I know you can do it. You can roll something down. Oh my god. It rolled another. It's just rolling the same thing over and over again. I love this.
Just, what did I spend? I'm sorry, I was listening to Dingle Nuts here.
I haven't told you yet. Tell a joke.
Oh, joke, okay. Yeah, airports after 9/11 were closed exactly 2 days. That's it. Joke time.
Crazy. Our next story for the joking is two different sections here. First one is going to be about a SNP chief, former SNP chief who has been charged with 8 charges, including embezzling money. Yes, embezzling, that's the word I want to think of. It's from Xander Elyards on the National Scotland. Former SNP chief executive Peter Murrell is accused of embezzling £460,000 from the party for over 13 years, court papers have revealed. Murrell, the estranged husband of former First Minister Nicola Sturgeon, that's why he's estranged, I think, is alleged to have used SNP funds to buy luxury items, cars, and a motorhome, as well as falsified documents linked to the sales, according to documents first reported by the Scottish Sun. The charges brought against Murrell are embezzlement of £459,000 and 46.49 pounds of S&P funds over a 13-year period, 2010 to 2023. Purchase of a 124,550 motorhome. Niesmann and Biscoff Smove S7.4E. I guess if you want to go Aegis House, that's where it is. Using S&P funds for personal use. Creation of false duplicate sales documenting relating to motorhome to portray it as a legitimate party expense. Yeah, we need this motorhome for the protest. Yeah, the protest we're doing on Tuesday. Use of the 16,489 pounds of S&P funds towards a 33,000-pound Volkswagen Golf in 2016. Bought a car. Use of 57,500 pounds of S&P funds towards a £81,000 Jaguar I-Pace in 2019. He was like, I got away with the Volkswagen Golf. Let me buy a more expensive car. And allegedly creating a false invoice to disguise the purchase. No, it was an actual Jaguar for S&P's party on Tuesday. Yeah, it wasn't a car. Claiming 18,408.91 pounds in expenses he was allegedly not entitled to, including alleged false invoices. Yeah, you owe me this much money for my work. Yeah, I redid the entire interior of the S&P offices, spending this is so much money, 159,757.39 pounds on S&P funds at 82 retailers on items allegedly for personal use or the use of others. Some purses, some clothes, some shoes, some makeup, some, I don't know, perfume. Spending 81,000 pounds, 610.19 pounds of S&P funds on Amazon purchases. So just more junk, allegedly for personal use or others. And recording in a way that said to disguise their true nature. Yeah, we totally need this back massager for the S&P offices. The allegations cover a period from August 12th, 2010 to January 13th, 2023, a total of 12 years and 5 months. The SNP was running the Scottish government for the entirety of that time period, which also covers the 2014 independence referendum. Yeah, we needed this car so that we could get Scottish independence. The most detailed charges related to now notorious motorhome, which was allegedly purchased from a dealer in Stafford in England in October 2020. Wow, you didn't even give that money to a Scottish person? Some SNP you are. 12,500 pounds put onto an SNP credit card. In December 2020, Muriel is alleged to have paid a further £112.50 from an S&P bank account to the dealer, and then had the motorhome delivered to Dunfermline, which was stored at his parents' properties. Ah, yeah, my parents can live in that. You're welcome, parents. Then he is accused of having created false documentation to portray the purchase of any of these legitimate party expenses by altering or removing the true details of the motorhome sale. Okay, we already read what he did. We read the whole bullet points. Muriel served as the S&P chief executive from 2001 to 2023, and the party first won a Holyrood election under Alex Salmond in 2007. He resigned in March of 23 on 1 month after Sturgeon resigned as first minister. Muriel was arrested in April 23 and questioned by detectives while his Uddington's home, which he shared with Sturgeon, and the SNP's headquarters were searched. He was then released without charge. However, 1 year later, in April 24, Muriel was rearrested and charged with embezzlement. On March 25, Sturgeon and former SNP treasurer Colin Beattie, who had also been arrested and questioned over the course of the police probe into the party finances, were both cleared after the investigation was closed. Either she had no idea about any of this, or she made him the fall guy, right? You do all the purchases so that if we get caught, you can go to jail. 2 months prior, in January 25, Sturgeon had announced that he and Muriel were splitting after 15 years of marriage and 22 years together, plus 12 years of embezzling the government. So you were embezzling the government for 12 years of our marriage? Yeah, sorry, it's over. I can't, even if she was involved, right? It's just, she wasn't involved. You can't be with the guy anymore. You're just gonna be, everything you do is gonna be out of question. The police investigation, which was codenamed Operation Branch Form, had been launched in 2021 following a complaint about what the party had done with more than £600,000 raised from the general public, with the stated aim of fighting for a second independence referendum. That's why I never came. We were buying cars and motorhomes instead. Muriel is expected to appear at Glasgow High Court for a preliminary hearing where he should appear in person and enter a plea on Friday, February 20th. I bet his plea is going to be, oh, please don't send me to the bad prison. I don't know. It doesn't seem good for him. Does not seem good for him. There you go. A great example of what we talked about yesterday about you can collect taxes, but you need to know what the fuck they're doing with your taxes.
Yeah, they're just using it to enrich themselves. You know, there's other ways to get rich in government besides just directly embezzling the government.
Yeah, crazy.
Here's my joke. I couldn't find a good joke on the internet, so I made my own. And I will channel Yakov Smirnov. If you remember Yakov Smirnov, the famous Soviet defector who came to America and made a lot of Russian jokes. I will do a Russian joke, Yakov Smirnov voice for this. In Scotland, you call embezzlers MPs. In USA, we unironically call them lawmakers. Not the best Yakov.
Oh dear. Yep.
I need to roll
you can find corruption everywhere. Greed and corruption.
In America, you go to party. In Soviet Union, party come to you.
We love being evil and embezzling money from donations. All those poor people in Scotland who are like, yes, second referendum, let's go. And then, where's the second referendum? Why didn't it ever come? Especially after Brexit, right? I was like, why haven't they done a referendum for after Brexit where they got fucked over? Oh, sorry, we spent all that money for campaigning about another referendum on a car. Oh, okay, sorry. That makes sense. That makes sense. And buying Amazon, I don't know, fidget toys. My next story is my Black History Month section, and we're going to be talking about the not often spoke about. It was very hard for me to find a story about this guy. Sadly, I could only find a story about him when he died. They talked about him at his death, but there's I couldn't find any stories about him before he died. Boxer Leon Spinks, who topped Muhammad Ali once, to be fair, but he still did it. This is by Jason Breslow on NPR News. From February 7th, 2021, at which he died around that time. So, Leon Spinks, who shocked the boxing world with his 1978 defeat of Muhammad Ali to claim the heavyweight champion, died. What was Friday in 2021? I really wish they would put dates in these old articles. Any article, actually. It doesn't even need to be. It could be an article from yesterday. I don't know what Friday 2021 was in February. Let me go back. We're almost there. 2021, please. Thank you. What was Friday 2021? The 5th of February. So Spinks died on the 5th of February 2021 in Henderson, Nevada. He was 67. His death was announced by the public relations group firm PR. In recent years, Spinks had battled prostate cancer and other forms of cancer. On the night that he toppled Ali, Spinks was the very definition of an underdog. He was unranked, and until that bout, he'd only fought professionally 7 other times. Not once had he gone beyond 10 rounds. Spinks was such a long shot that most sports books refused to even take bets on the fight. Yeah, Muhammad's gonna win. Why are we betting? And also you'll break the books, right? If he does happen to win, all the bookies are just going, oh, okay, we have no money. The odds were so out of favor. We're poor now. But at 24 years old, Spinks was young and hungry. Ali, at 36, was past his prime of his career. They brawled for 15 punishing rounds before a crowd of 5,300 in the pavilion at the Las Vegas Hilton. Ali, weighing in at 224 pounds, used a rope-a-dope strategy designed to tire his opponent out. We just talked about that in the before show. Spinks, at 197, was more energetic and took an early advantage with the jab after jab to Ali's face. Even the photo they provide here is just a straight jab on the nose. And his nose is not looking good. The champ would battle back into the later rounds of the fight. He forced Spinks to the ropes, slammed him in the jaw, landed a hook to his head, and then knocked him again with a right to the chin. Spinks later recalled the moment in an interview with Sports Illustrated, saying it brought him back to a moment in his childhood when his father, who would beat him, told him he would never amount to anything. He activated the inner PTSD. I'm gonna show my dad who's boss. My dad had gone around and told people I'd never be anything. Spinks said, it hurt me. I've never forgotten it. I made up my mind that I was going to be somebody in this world, that whatever price I had to pay, I was going to succeed at something. By the end of the night, Ali was bruised and bloody. The judges awarded Spinks a victory by split decision. Maybe they betted on the match. I recall thinking, that kid is a tough son of a bitch, Ali said. I keep on saying Ali. Ali said after the fight. Spinks, with a dose of humility, said of the man he grew up idolizing, he's still the greatest. I'm just the latest. Spinks rose to the title from a childhood in poverty. He was born on July 11th, 1953, in St. Louis, the oldest of 7 children. He took up boxing at a young age and then dropped out of high school in his junior year and joined the Marines, where he took part in their boxing program and famously lost his front teeth. By 1976, he was fighting for Team USA at the Montreal Olympics, where he won gold in the light heavyweight division. Less than 2 years later, Spinks would find himself at the top of the boxing world, but his reign as heavyweight champion would not last long. In September 1978, basically, when was this one again? This was in... The original match was in... It didn't tell me what month it was in. It just said in 1998 at the Las Vegas Hilton. Okay, well, Later that year, in 1978, sadly, he would end up losing to Ali. Ali would reclaim his title from Spinks in front of a crowd of some 63,000 at the Superdome in New Orleans. Spinks' career in boxing never really fully recovered. By 1981, he had developed a reputation as a fighter who liked to train easy and party hard. In June of that year, he challenged Larry Holmes for World Boxing Council heavyweight crown, but he lost in the third round. Spinks' last fight came in 1995. He lost his 8th round to Fred Hoop. He ended his career with a record of 26 victories, 17 defeats, and 3 draws. Not so bad for, I guess a mediocre boxer, I guess is what you would have to say, right? He was no Ali. Outside of the ring, much of his life became a struggle. Spinks lost the money he had made as a boxer, as all sports people tend to do, sadly. And by 2005, he was living in Columbus, Nebraska, where he unloaded trucks and worked as a custodian at the YMCA to help ends meet. Spinks married 3 times and was the father of 3 sons, all of whom became boxers. One son, Corey, would become a welterweight champion. Another son, Leon Calvin, won 2 professional matches before he was shot to death in 1990 at the age of 19. What the fuck? That's tragic. Leon Spinks, the one named after him, right? Leon Calvin was his son, named after him, was shot to death at 19. Leon Spinks' survivors include his wife, Brenda Glure Spinks, sons Daryl and Corey, brother Michael Spinks and other siblings, and grandson Leon Spinks III, who also became a professional boxer. So we got a family of boxers there. I don't know if any of those people are still alive today on this date, but they were still alive in 2021.
Pretty sure Michael Spinks is still around.
He might have passed away by now. I can look that up real quick.
Michael Spinks got revenge for his brother by beating Larry Holmes, and Larry Holmes at the time was undefeated, like completely, totally undefeated heavyweight championship, and there was only one of those in history, and that was Rocky Marciano. Larry Holmes was about to retire undefeated, and Michael Spinks beat him. So,
yeah,
of course, Michael Spinks got destroyed by Mike Tyson. That was just not pretty.
I think Michael Spinks is still alive. It doesn't say anywhere here that he has, right? Usually it will say, died this date. It doesn't say anywhere on his Wikipedia anyways that he died. So I think he's still around.
The U.S. Olympic team in '76 was legendary. They Sugar Ray Leonard and a bunch of other guys that went on to become champions. Legendary boxing team that year. They had the Spinks brothers, Sugar Ray Leonard. I could go on. Probably people you never heard of. But anyway. My joke is, if you're done, I have a joke.
Yes, I'm done. I just wanted to talk about somebody that I guess nobody talks about unless you were there.
Every joke about Leon Spinks, once he became famous, and he became famous after the Olympics, was about his teeth. Every joke was about his missing teeth.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in bowling, and I used to bowl a lot, we called when you throw your bowling pins and you got the pins that are sitting on the outside.
The 2 in the center, basically, yeah.
The whole gap in the middle and the pins on the side, we called that a Spinks split, not a. We started calling that a Spinks split. So that's exactly as a child. Yeah. As a child who would bowl, we started calling that a Spinks split. So that's my little joke. That's how famous. That's how famous Leon was. So it's not.
But that's the power of legacy right there, right? You know about him because you were alive, but people who weren't alive. I mean, I was barely alive when he stopped doing it. Right, 1995 was his last match. I never heard of him. I've never heard of him. Not that I've been into. I'm sure people who are in boxing have heard of him. Right, but the general population probably doesn't know this guy. At least my age or younger. Right.
Okay, but as a child, Leon consumed a few sports, and boxing was one of them. And boxing was one of those sports that everybody seemed to consume. It seemed like a worldwide sport more than anything else. And Muhammad Ali was the most famous person in the world at the time.
Yes, for sure.
He was the Muhammad Ali of Muhammad Alis.
Let's roll our next segue for your next story.
There's a famous Muhammad Ali who was the leader of all the Muslim world at one time. See, looking through your history.
I'm going to give you some limericks.
We're going to talk about the short story first, which is about the Olympics. We're going to talk about sports again. And we're just talking about the Olympics, and we're going to talk about snowboarding and the rules. You got to have rules. If you don't have rules, then why do you have a sport? Then anybody say, I won. You know, if you're playing Monopoly, you just turn the board over and say, I won. Everybody's wiped out. There you go. I won. Okay, you won.
Yep.
Everybody hates you now. You can't do that in the Olympics. You can't turn over the board. For instance, we had a story I was reading earlier about a Ukrainian athlete who wasn't even allowed to participate because of his helmet. Not a legal helmet. Nothing wrong with the helmet legally. He just had a political statement honoring the dead people of Ukraine.
It's political because he's honoring them because it's about a war. But you know, you could put your friend who died of cancer on your helmet. It wouldn't be political, right?
Honoring dead people is political. I have no idea why, but whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's political, but they made it political.
And again, the U.S. Olympic Committee is full of oligarchs. Let's not forget that. The Olympics just saw its first forever chemical disqualifications. That's right, forever chemical, which is a freaking snowboard thing. They wouldn't put it on their persons, they were putting it on their equipment. Heading into the Milan Cortina 2026 Olympics, skiers and snowboarders are really adjusting to the ban on fluorinated waxes. Long prize for making their equipment faster. This week, the Winter Games saw their first enforcement of that rule, which is aimed at protecting public health and the environment. South Korea cross-country skiers Han Da-som and Lee Yo-jin were disqualified for the women's sprint event on Tuesday. That came one day after Japanese snowboarder Shiba Masaki was disqualified for the men's parallel giant slalom. That's the one, the parallel giant slalom. That's the one where the guy took his shirt off. In all three cases, routine testing found banned compounds of their equipment. The parallel giant slalom means you're racing somebody next to you, by the way. That's really all it means.
Yeah. So if you can go faster than them due to waxing, you're cheating.
Yeah, and
that's not your skill, that's your board.
Most ski racing, you're racing the clock. You have no idea what your time is against other people. But if you're racing somebody next to you, you actually are racing them physically, so you kind of know where you stand. I think that's a better race to me. I can see where they stand. Now, if you see somebody wipe out, you know it's over, right? I've seen a lot of wipeouts. Man, I see a lot. I went skiing the other day, all I seen was wipeouts. I ain't watching this anymore, just watching people wipe out. Anyway, the suspension came after, disqualification came one day after Japanese snowboarders Shiba Masaki was disqualified from the men's parallel giant slalom. In all three cases, routine testing found banned compounds on their equipment. For decades, the elite snow sports athletes have relied on waxes with fluorocarbons, which are banned because they deplete the ozone layer, that are exceptional at repelling water and dirt. Former U.S. cross-country racer Nathan Schultz told Grist, the so-called fluoro waxes provide a really ridiculous speed advantage, especially in warmer conditions like those experienced at these games. But these waxes also contain PFAS, short for per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. This class of 15,000 so-called forever chemicals are notorious for never breaking down. Studies have linked exposure to PFAS to thyroid disease, developmental problems, cancer. Research has found at elevated levels 6 technicians who regularly handle these waxes. The PFAS have also been detected in soil, water near ski. They're being detected everywhere, my friends. I'm sorry. They're just everywhere now, including wells drawing from aquifers in Park City, Utah, suggesting broader environmental contamination. We're talking about Park City, Utah now for some reason. Amid growing concern over the environmental impacts and the risks to skiers, the technicians and others, the International Ski and Snowboard Federation, or FIS, called on a ban in 2019. The prohibition took effect in 23 and applies to all events governed by the Federation, including Nordic, Alpine, freestyle skiing, ski jumping, and snowboarding. That's right. Don't cheat. We got rules. You got to read the rules. I just saw a video earlier this morning about a guy hunting in I think it was in Missouri or somewhere. Mm-hmm. And DNR comes up on him. He starts bitching at the DNR because he didn't read the rules. There's rules to hunting, you dumb son of a bitch. You didn't read them. That's not our problem.
That's your problem.
I don't know the rules. You can't arrest me. Huh? It makes no fucking sense. Anyway, that's the logic of lawbreakers, unfortunately. Officials test multiple points on each competitor's equipment using a technique known as Fourier Transform Infrared Spectroscopy, which I surely butchered. to detect fluoros. Fluoros are these things that are PFASs, I suppose. If a given spot on a ski or snowboard turns green, it passes. A red result indicates the presence of banned substance. 3 or more red spots leads to a disqualification. I guess you can get one by accident, right? I would say, hey, I tell you what, your board didn't pass, go re-wax it and bring it to us again. I wouldn't necessarily disqualify them, but whatever. They want to be hard asses. Mm-hmm. Guess what? We're hard asses.
We stand for something. And it's not a lot.
A spokesman. I've had a lot of problems with South Korea and their corruption lately. There's been a lot of news about South Korea being corrupt lately. You need to knock that shit off. I get it that you're capitalists. That doesn't mean you got to behave like Americans. Anyway, a spokesperson for the Korean Ski Association initially told the South Korean news agency Newsis that the organization was perplexed by the results. How are you perplexed? They tested negative in all previous international competition with no private issues. Yeah, but they decided that this time we're not doing them by the rules. We're not going to get caught. We will consult expert from wax and ski manufacturers to investigate whether the issue lies with the wax or the skis. In an emailed statement, the Korean Olympic Committee told GRIS that fluoride was detected in what we believe to be a fluoride-free waxes. The Ski Association has purchased fluoride-free wax products, so it will protest, wrote the spokesperson. The team will also replace the wax and check the skis again after cleaning to prevent the recurrence. Here's an idea. I don't want to throw anything monkey wrench into their plans, but if you're the head of the ski team for any given country, why don't you test them in advance and say, hey, go re-wax your skis with the right shit. We're not going to let you go out there and get tested by the Olympic Committee. All right, so there's your idiotic nonsense that people try to do to get a competitive advantage called cheating. So we normally call it. Now they get disqualified.
Rules are rules.
As they say in NASCAR, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's NASCAR.
In the winter, the riders took flight, snowboarding, a thrilling delight, but a scandal arose with some waxing their toes. Now they're banned. What a sorrowful plight.
Yeah, good one.
If only they were waxing their toes, they wouldn't have gotten in trouble, because I don't think waxing your toes would have had an advantage.
Okay, so we're gonna have wax your toes, yeah. I don't think they're testing their toes. Again, Olympics, they want everybody to have an equal chance to win. So you cheating is just making everybody hate you, to tell you the truth, and making excuses. The excuses are always so sad. I had no idea that wax I purchased had that in it. Uh-huh. Okay, whatever. This is from democracydocket.com, another story. This is about fascism on the march. I was thinking about Fascism Friday would be a good thing, but we don't. Bulgar showdown and that depressing shit all weekend, right? But here's my one story that shows that at least judges are paying attention. We may do a side story about the other ruling, but this one's about Mark Kelly specifically, who is a astronaut, right? Married to a ex-congresswoman and is a U.S. senator, possibly running for president because his profile has increased about 1,000,000%. Since Pete Hegseth, who is basically a sexual harassing drunk, is now the defense secretary. We call him Whiskey Pete. Another name I call for Pete Hegseth, which I heard pretty good, Pete Kegsbreath. Let's call him that.
Wow.
Defense Secretary Pete Kegsbreath violated Senator Mark Kelly's First Amendment rights by moving to strip him of his retired military rank for reminding troops in a video last year that they are obligated to refuse illegal orders. Judge ruled Tuesday. Why would they make that video? You know why they made that video? Because Trump was bombing fishing boats in Venezuela with civilians in them and saying there were drug boats. And if you did that without questioning the orders, you can be punished because it's an illegal order. That's why they did it. It wasn't done in a vacuum. Yeah, okay, so, excuse me. And of course, we have ICE agents shooting civilians. And they just want to remind the military people that shooting civilians is a crime. In a fiery decision that included 15 exclamation points, 15, okay, this is a judge, not probably prone to exaggeration or emotional outbursts. You don't get to be a judge, after all, I would not think. This judge is named Richard Leon, a George W. Bush appointee, wrote that Kegg's breath trampled on Senator Kelly's First Amendment freedoms and threatened the constitutional liberties of millions of military retirees. Let's understand, Kegg's breath only made it to captain. Right? He didn't make it to astronaut. He was a lowlife. Captain is nothing, right? You get out of officer school, you're a lieutenant. All you got to do is kiss enough ass, you get the captain, and a lot of careers stop right there. They just stop right there and doesn't have an old Whiskey Pete. Secretary Kegg's breath relies on well-established doctrine that military service members enjoy less vigorous First Amendment protection than given the fundamental obligation for obedience and discipline in the armed force in Leon. Again, this is a Republican appointee. Unfortunately for Senator Kegg's breath, no court has ever extended those principles to retired service members, much less retired service members serving in Congress, and much less astronauts, and exercising oversight responsibility over the military. This court will not be the first to do so, he added. Leon summarized Kegg's breath defense on the demotion proceedings as amounting to horse feathers with a exclamation point there. Horse feathers, just beyond halting Kegg's breath attempt to demote Kelly, a fighter pilot and astronaut who later was elected U.S. Senator. Leon's ruling reinforces the First Amendment rights of all military retirees. You can't be reduced in rank when you're retired. Even if you go to prison, they can't reduce you in rank. It's absurd. And in November, Kelly was one of 6 Democratic lawmakers who recorded a video reminding members of military and intelligence community that they took an oath to defend the Constitution. They are legally required to refuse lawful orders. They released a video in response to ongoing fears that Trump's political appointees have issued illegal orders in carrying out the president's legally questioned campaign of killing people suspected of smuggling drugs in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific.
By the way, if you suspect somebody of doing something, you're supposed to arrest them and put them in court, not kill them.
And one senator in particular who was not in the military and Kegg's breath can't go after him is Republican Rand Paul, who is a bit of a loon, I'll admit, right? But he's a Republican and he's going after Trump saying, you're killing civilians and I want to know who is ordering these bombings of people who we have no proof that did anything wrong. All these crimes are war crimes. And let's not forget the people that carried out these orders broke the law. And it doesn't matter who gave the orders, they're illegal. The Trump administration swiftly responded to the video. Stinky himself expressed support for imprisoning people. Of course he did, he's a pile of shit. Shortly after Trump's threats, Kegg's breath announced that the Department of Defense would reconsider Kelly retirement grade. Yeah, whatever. In response, Kelly sued, arguing that Kegg's breath was unconstitutionally weaponizing demotion proceedings to penalize from participating in the video. In his Thursday's ruling, Leon largely agreed with Kelly's First Amendment arguments. The judge said speech from retired service members, even comments on the lawfulness of ongoing military operations, could not, as Kegg's breath claimed, threaten the obedience and morale of active duty soldiers. Quoting from the singer-songwriting, get your bingo cards out. This isn't me quoting Bob Dylan, everybody. This is the judge. This is the judge. Judge quoting Dylan. Quoting from singer-songwriter Bob Dylan, the author had to remind us who Bob Dylan was. Had to remind us who Bob Dylan was. I like that. Quoting from Bob Dylan, Leon also tore into the defense secretary's argument that courts have no authority to intervene in disciplinary reviews against retired members of the military. I have absolute power, shit for brains, Kegg's breath said. Anyway, the judge said, I disagree. After all, Bob Dylan famously said, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. To say the least, our retired veterans deserve more respect from their government, and our Constitution demands that they receive it. If anybody in this country has freedom of speech, veterans do.
Yes,
I'm not saying everybody
directly serve they directly serve the country in one way or other.
The minute I lost, you go in the military, you lose your freedom of speech. They own your ass. You got it. Totally own your ass, right? Mm-hmm. The minute you get your freedom of speech back, you go to exercising, and that's sure as hell what I did. Like 5 minutes later,
telling
I
me
was
that
outside
you
the gate.
used to be in the Marines? Because that's also on my bingo board. It was in the Marines.
I'll show you all my accommodations. It'll take like a minute and a half. Anyway. Leon's decision siding with Kelly was expected. In previous court proceedings, the judge appeared alarmed by the Department of Justice defense of Kegsbrett's effort against Kelly. Department of Justice court is run by another sycophant who isn't qualified. Leon had previously ruled, and we're not talking about Leon Musk, we're talking about the judge. Leon had previously ruled in a similar case that the Constitution bars the military from prosecuting retired service members' post-retirement conduct. Earlier this week, we're going to get back to this. I was hoping I wouldn't have to start another story about it, but earlier this week, the federal prosecutors in Washington, D.C. sought to indict Kelly and 5 other lawmakers for violating a statute that forbids interfering with the loyalty, morale, or discipline of the U.S. Armed Forces. What statute would that be? However, the effort failed after a grand jury refused to approve the charges, dubbed no true bill. Grand jury rejections are an astonishingly rare occurrence. Again, we've done this before. A grand jury will indict a ham sandwich unless the case is brought by the Trump administration, because they're a bunch of
very odd
hacks.
Yeah,
Political hacks can't even get grand jury. And speaking of the hacks, the indictment came after Jeanine Pirro. If you know who Jeanine Pirro is, check your local liquor stores in the boxed wine section. You'll find her there. The indictment attempt came after Jeanine Pirro, former Fox personality, by the way, the staunch Trump ally, heading the U.S. Attorney's Office. I guess she's qualified. She was once a judge somehow. Anyway, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia sought investigators' interview with 5 other lawmakers to depart the video. At the time, their question indicated that Pirro's office had opened a probe against the lawmakers, even though the DOJ policy and guidelines generally prohibit investigations being initiated solely based on activities protected by the First Amendment. You also cannot investigate members of Congress for practicing free speech, and that's all they were doing. So that indictment was never acted upon by the grand jury. The stupid-ass criminals at the Department of Justice can actually bypass the grand jury and go find a judge somewhere that'll charge them with it. Maybe they'll do that, but there's not going to be a jury to convict them anywhere, so you're wasting your time, jackasses. This is 100% done to keep people quiet, and that's it. They have no case. None whatsoever. There's nothing in the Constitution. The government cannot take away your freedom of speech, folks. Right there, number 1 in the hit parade. The first one they decided to enter was no amendment supersedes the other ones, but this was the first one. Freedom of speech. Government can't do nothing to shut down your freedom of speech. Period. End of story. Unless you're saying fire in you're yelling movie in a crowded firehouse, as they say. I know I got that backwards.
I have no idea.
Anyway,
I don't know what you're referencing.
I said yelling movie in a crowded firehouse. I got it backwards on purpose. Anyway. You can't yell fire in a crowded movie house. That's not protected speech, right? That's not protected. People will get trampled to death getting out. If I turned it on its head, I said you can't yell movie in a crowded firehouse. Anyway, let's the roof is on.
All right, I've got 2 limericks for you for that story, because I had the time to. First, limerick. In the land where the laws must be clear, a choice stands for all to hold dear. If your orders are wrong, you can stand up strong. For justice, not fear, should steer here. My other limerick. In fields where the brave heroes stand, they fought for our freedom so grand. With courage and strife, they give us our life, so let's honor their sacrifice hand in hand. And not try to shut them up with not court-martials, like actual federal level lawsuits, I guess. Saying,
if you were in this country, if you were in my country, and you don't think veterans have this freedom of speech, I don't even know what the hell you're smoking, because we used to honor veterans in this country. Now it's like, oh my God, don't say anything against my politics.
In a lot of other countries, if you start turning on the veterans, that's how you lose movement in your ideology, because those are like the people who know everything, you know, and you should never piss off the veterans. But for some reason in the U.S., you can piss them off all you want. I don't know what that's about.
You know what we used to say? You know what conservatives used to say? Every conservative I ever had or disagreed with, and I've been talking to conservatives I don't agree with for basically my entire life.
Yeah, and majority of your family, for example.
At the end of our discussion, they would typically say, "I don't agree with what you say, but I agree with your right to say it." Right?
Yeah.
Now conservatives say, "Tech, arrest him! He's wrong! He's trying to destroy our government!" No, they're just reminding people what the law is. That's not freedom of speech. Telling people what the law is freedom of speech. General Mark Kelly, I think Major Mark Kelly, he might even been Lieutenant Colonel, I'm not even sure. He's a retiree.
I've decided he's a major. He's a general now. He's been in my eyes.
Major is the rank in my mind where you start becoming an actual officer instead of just a guy.
Yeah, instead of just like you have one guy you can tell what to do. Yeah.
Or checking a box on their resume so they can go get a nice cushy job somewhere. But major means you've made a commitment to your career. That's what major means to me. Captain, you can make that in 4 years. You know. Anyway, let's have another spin, because you got to read the story
next
now.
Culture segment, segue wheel.
End the week on culture.
We're going to be reminded of a song. We're going to be talking about the Bernale, Berlin Ale, Bernale. I don't know what it's called. I'm not German, and even in Dutch, I don't think I know how to say that word. But it's a film festival in Berlin, and it's just started. Your segue is reminds me of a song. Yeah, I already said that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Just making sure I told you, because sometimes I forget.
Okay. All right.
It's opened. The first opening day of the ceremony for the festival is full of politics and protests. Let's go on Euronews Culture by friend Ziska Mueller and Soja Issel. Bernal jury president Wim Wenders has made clear that film can only change people and not politicians. But at the Berlin Film Festival's red carpet opening ceremony, political protests grab all of the attention. Damp and miserable conditions hung over the skies in German capital, but at the 76th Bernale's opening ceremony in Potsdamer Platz, a golden glow gave the proceedings a much welcome sheen of glamour. Some of Hollywood's biggest names were present for the gala, along with a significant number of celebrities from the rest of the world. Yeah. Among them were Sean Baker, Bella Ramsey, Neil Patrick Harris, Iris Berben, Daniel Bruhl, Lars Eidinger, Caroline Herfurth, Frederick Lau, and Matthias Schweghofer. The evening was actually supposed to be all about the art of film. At least that's what the jury's view was. Before the opening, the tone was set in the afternoon at the welcoming press conference, with the jury chairman Wim Wenders making it clear they did not want to take a political stance. "We stay out of politics," he said in response to a question about support for Palestine. Well, Germany can't say anything. Germany has its hands tied with that. "Oh, we can't say we're against Israel because then people will call us Nazis. So I guess they can just commit genocide." On the red carpet, however, it became clear that politics and cinema cannot be completely separated. I think cinema is political by nature, so yeah. Author and journalist Duzen Tekal used his appearance on the red carpet to highlight the situation in Iran, together with Banafsheh Hormadzi, Jasmine Tabatabai, and Feline Rogan. She held up a poster reading, "Free Iran, Rojava in my heart." And then I don't know who is who. Feline Rogan, I think, is holding Jin Jayan Azadi. Picture of a couple from Iran, and Free Iran as well. German Green Party politician Karen Göring Eckdart also brought a message with her. On her hand was written, "Remembrance is not a violation." These words are part of the controversial Ukrainian campaign in the Olympics Games in Milan Cortina, which we just mentioned during your Olympic story, which was, somebody put some dead Olympic champions who got killed by the war in Ukraine on their helmet, and they said, "You are not allowed to compete anymore. You broke our rules on not being political." As if the Olympics has never been political. Look at, famously, guy who lifted his fist when he won the medal in the Olympics during segregation. What is his name? During World War II.
It was two guys. It was two guys in World War II. It was 1968 Mexico City Olympics. It was John Carlos and it was two sprinters. Anyway, they didn't get nothing taken away. They just got sent home.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm just saying that was just an example of how the Olympics are political.
I didn't say you said that. I didn't say you said that. No way that I implied it. You said that.
Other guests jointly depicted a quote from German-American philosopher Hannah Arendt, according to which no one has the right to disobey. They position themselves against fascists and claim to be more. No one has the right to obey. Hannah Arendt. Watch out, fascists. We are more, is the other message. This year, the political messages came mainly from guests at the gala on the red carpet. The prominent filmmakers themselves remained largely reserved on the red carpet and concentrated on their appearance in front of the cameras. If you want some politics, go ahead and just check the following films we're presenting. An interview with Euronews, Lars Eidinger said that they have mainly come because of the films. They were the real reason for this attendance. "I couldn't care less about anything else," said German actor. Okay, well, then stop being an actor. I don't know. I don't care about politics, but I am in films. Eidinger can be seen on the big screen again this year in the film Blood Countess, Die Blutgrafen. Sorry, it's German, not Dutch. By Ulrich Oettinger and Elfriede Jelinek, which is celebrating its world premiere at the Bernal. But Edinger was excited about attending the premiere, partly because he has not yet seen the finished product. "Sometimes you come to the Bernal to watch the films you've made yourself," as he shared with Euronews. Matthias Gopher, on the other hand, was particularly looking forward to seeing colleagues and friends from the industry again. His highlight is meeting everyone again, and that everyone is coming together is simply wonderful, he said. This enthusiasm was equally shared by his fans, together with his wife Rubio Fee. He was greeted with particularly loud cheers. There was also a mixture of seriousness and lightness in the auditorium. The opening film, shown on Thursday evening, the 12th of February, No Good Men, by Afghan director Shaharbano Sadat, tells the story of a camera woman traveling in Afghanistan shortly before the return of the Taliban. That's not political at all. She has lost faith that there's still any good men in Afghanistan, but the reporter she is traveling with makes her doubt. So she doubts her lost faith? That's a confusing sentence. A comedy with political depth and a contrast also characterized the evening on the red carpet. After the parade on the red carpet, the gala began, including the first award ceremony. Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh received honorary Golden Bear in recognition of her outstanding acting achievements in film and cinema. Good for her. What is the meme again? Flip it around, wicked witch. That's the meme she's done this last year, for anybody who doesn't know. It was the first series of award ceremonies in the coming days. The Bernal competition is at the heart of the festival, with 22 films vying for the Golden Bear for Best Film. Among those favorites are Rose, Dow, and Josephine. The jury, chaired by Wim Wenders, will award a Golden Bear on the 21st of February. In addition, 7 further prizes will be awarded for special film achievements, the Silver Bears. In addition to the main competition, there are numerous other awards, including the Bernal Documentary Film Prize, the Teddy Awards for Queer Cinema, the Heiner Carroll Prize, the Guild Film Prize, the Prize of Ecumenical Jury of Churches, and the Prize of the Fipresci Jury, the Amnesty International Film Prize, the Peace Film Prize, and the Prize of the Readers Jury of the Berliner Morgen Post. So people who read the Berliner Morning Post also get to give a prize, award to a film. The award ceremony will take place over the final weekend of the festival on the 22nd of February. It is an all-out on the public. On this day, visitors can watch numerous films. Once again, world premieres are on the program throughout the festival, including competition entries such as Rosenbush Pruning with Pamela Anderson and The Moment by Charlie XCX. The screening will take place in the cinemas throughout the city, including additional red carpets. The gala of Post-Dahmer Platz was just the beginning. So get those politics in gear and protest some shit that's going down, because they're not afraid of it. They're not gonna... Oh, my laurels! I can't believe they said Iranians deserve to live and stop being fascist or something. That's what Hollywood people do in my experience, right? Oh, I can't believe they did that. We're supposed to be pretending everything's perfect. Not all of them. I know that also they make slide remarks at the Oscars and stuff, but...
Let's do a song.
What
No
song?
surprise, I'm going to Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's song, which he wrote in 1983. It didn't age well, fortunately for him, because he's Jewish. I'll let you know, don't know, Bob Dylan is Jewish. His birth name was Zimmerman. His grandparents escaped from Ukraine during one of the Jews had to leave. They were going to get murdered. One of those things.
Very, very bad anti-Jewish sentiment in Eastern Europe at the time.
And a lot of people hold Bob Dylan personally responsible for Israel's policies for some reason because of this song, which is called Neighborhood Bully, which at the time in 1983 was very pertinent to Israel's struggles in the world, which was everybody hates us. There's entire governments, Iran, they have in their stated reason for existing is to destroy Israel, that kind of thing, right? So they have no real friends around them, that kind of thing, that feeling has gone away, has gone completely away to where people think Bob Dylan of 80 some years old thinks exactly the same way that Bob Dylan did 40 years ago. He ain't the same guy. He knows the real world exists, right? He's Bob Dylan. He isn't like, I don't know what's happening in the world, right? So he isn't writing that song anymore. He isn't performing that song anymore. So stop holding it against him. But it is an actual profound song about you're blaming the guys who could not find a homeland for having a homeland. That makes no sense, literally. Yeah. But I'm not anti-Israel. I am anti-Netanyahu because he's a butcher. He's a pile of shit. He's got to go. The old governments weren't, not all the Israeli governments were crazy.
I'm anti-AIPAC.
Yeah. Yitzhak Rabin was decent. Menachem Begin was decent. They were decent people. Not these fucking clowns they got inside here now. Menachem Begin made peace with Israel. Yitzhak Rabin made peace with the Palestinians. Okay? They were immediately eliminated after that. So, there you go.
Okay.
Let's do this day in history, I suppose.
Let's do this day in history. Segway wheel, our last segway wheel of the week. Yeah! There you go. There's your jingle today. Haiku! I'm going to get more poetry for you.
I sent you a video. You can look it up. It's going to end the week on a positive note.
All good.
Stay in history. Geez, another stupid beheading. We had a beheading yesterday, right? Because Bloody Mary chopped off the head of Lady Jane Grey. It was only 16. I don't know you can be called Lady Jane Grey when you're only 16. You're not even a lady yet, right? Anyway, maybe in 16 you're a lady. I have no idea. So, and this day in 1542, King Henry VIII, who was just a big fat pile of you-know-what, had Catherine Howard, the fifth of his wives, 6 wives, beheaded on charges of adultery. I thought he had 7 wives. Maybe he never married the other one. I don't know. Anyway, beheaded on charges of adultery, which is just absurd. Just nonsense. 1649, John Milton published first of political tract, the Tenure and Kings of Magistrates, in response to the execution of King Charles I. He urged the abolition of tyrannical kingship and the execution of tyrants. Okay, I guess they were doing that. Define tyrants, please. 1689, following the Glorious Revolution, which is we're all about England history for some reason today. 1689, the Glorious Revolution. William and Mary were proclaimed king. Do a big dance, all you Dutch out there. Hey, we got a king of England now. They ruled jointly as the king. William III, as King William was the king of, I guess they called it Holland then still, right? Or was it the Netherlands? They ruled jointly as the king of William III and Queen Mary II until her death in 1694. Because they were Protestant, not Catholic. The only reason they were in charge is
back then, they were called the Seven Provinces or the Lowlands back then, I think. My Dutch history is not as good as it should be.
Yeah, he was called William of Orange because he was Dutch. Yeah. I'm just pointing that out. Okay, anyway, 1692, Scottish soldiers under Archibald Campbell, 10th Earl of Argyll, slaughtered members of the MacDonald clan at Glencoe. We know about this one. The Stuarts were involved after their chief, Alexander MacDonald, missed the deadline for swearing allegiance to the king, William III. We have probably distant relatives involved in this, and both sides perhaps, right? Don't even know. I have to do the research. It hits a dead end when we get back to Scotland because people change their damn last name so much. In 1883, Richard Wagner, whose operas and music spurred Nazis on in their conquests of the world, he died this day in Venice at the age of 69. Not his fault. You can't blame Nazis on him, but I think he was an anti-Semite, so screw that guy. 1935, Bruno Hauptmann was, I think he was. Why would the Nazis, dun, 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 you know, the Valkyries, right? The Valkyries, yeah. That's what he wrote. Dun, 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 dun,
they liked him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They definitely liked him. So sadly, because Nazis liked his music, the music became Nazi music because they were using it. And that's why, you know, people say, hey, that demagogue can't use my music because now people are going to think I like him. Right?
Yeah. Just imagine
if
the Nazis had little portable radios, little Walkmans in their tanks. That's the music they would have been playing as they went into battle.
Yeah. As they charged over the front lines.
They were probably singing it or humming it. Who knows, right? Anyway, don't blame him necessarily for all the Nazis, but I understand he was probably an anti-Semite. 1935, Bruno Hauptmann was convicted of kidnapping and murdering Charles and Anne Merle Lindbergh's child. I think they got the wrong person. A lot of the evidence and all the movies I've seen said they kind of rushed to judgment because he's an immigrant. Of course he did it. He doesn't understand English, so therefore he did it. You know, I don't know. Whatever. 1950, Peter Gabriel was born. Happy birthday to Peter Gabriel, who's the lead singer for the progressive rock band Genesis, one of your first androgynous singers. Before launching a successful solo career, was born in England. And when Peter Gabriel became a solo singer, nobody knew what the hell he looked like because he was always in costume on stage. In 1960, France detonated their first atomic bomb. Way to go, France! Way to figure out a way to
thanks
kill
for being
people.
A rival power to the U.S., which they've always been, in a way. Not a rival power, but...
They didn't need... yeah. Welcome to the killers of the world. Yay! 1997...
They haven't dropped one on anybody, I guess.
1997, the Dow Jones Industrial Average finished 7,000 for the first time. Geez, that's kind of the old good old days. Is that 50,000 now? But money's worth less. Let's think of it that way. 2002, the Scottish Parliament passed the Protection of the Wild Mammals Bill. Thank you, Scotland. Which made it illegal to hunt wild mammals with dogs, effectively outlawing fox hunting in Scotland.
Woohoo!
Yeah, well, the only predator in Scotland.
Dog hunting illegalized. The most cruelest fucking thing ever. Just let your dog destroy a rabbit to pieces.
Or a fox.
Yeah.
Or a
fucked up shit.
Or a burrow. Or a den full of baby foxes. Even worse, right?
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, this is what rich people do at their time. They murder animals for sport. They're just murdering them.
And then they start, I guess, and then we made it illegal, so they started murdering children. I guess that was the next step.
What do you mean started? 2008, Kevin Rudd, the prime. What do you think wars are? You think poor people are starting wars? I'm sorry. Anyway, 2008, Kevin Rudd, the Prime Minister of Austria, apologized to Australian Aboriginal people. That's Austria. Okay, here's one of the things. They just spread Okay, I made the mistake of saying Austria, but it's not my fault, okay? They spelled Australia A-U-S-T-R-A-I-A, no L. right?
Oh, yeah. Whoops.
Kevin Rudd, it says, here's what it actually says. Kevin Rudd, the Prime Minister of Australia, apologized to the Australian or Aboriginal peoples for abuses they had suffered under early administrations. We make mistakes, but I don't have the money that Britannica has to spell check words that don't even exist in any language. Australia. Australia must be a word. Didn't catch it. 2006, Antonin Scalia died. He was a Supreme Court scumbag who authored the ridiculous Citizens United decision, which basically said corporations are people. So he's a pile of shit. Anyway, he died 10 years old today. Bon voyage to old Antonin Scalia, one of the worst people in the history of the United States. Of course, the right-wingers said a 76-year-old man with a heart disease, he must have been murdered. That was their conclusion. Nobody ever dies in the right wing unless they're murdered. That's how that works. I gotta figure out these people someday. 2000, Peanuts stopped publishing. That's a sad day for me. The newspapers became one degree less interesting as the Peanuts stopped publishing in this day. 2000, the last Peanut comic strip was published just hours after the death of its creator, Charles Schulz. Peanuts had debuted in 1950. 50 years later, it was appearing in more than 2,500 newspapers in 75 countries. And unlike the creator of Dilbert, he was mourned by people outside of his family. Let's say it put that way. Anyway, Grant Wood, birthday today. Grant Wood, who's Grant Wood? You ever saw the painting American Gothic? He's the guy that painted that. You ever see American Gothic? It's the old man.
American Gothic is the two farmers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the man and woman, the pitchfork, the hair tied back.
They're just staring straight at you.
And we are farmers, boys and girls, and that's all we give a shit about. And get off our lawn! Sorry. February 13th, 1891 is Mr. Wood's birthday, Grant Wood. He was born near Anamassa, Iowa, and he died in Iowa. It's been most of his life in Iowa, it appears. He died only at 50 in 1942. Other birthdays today, William B. Shockley, American physicist. Kim Novak, American actress, born 1933. He is still alive. She's one of your older living actresses. She is 93 today. Peter Gabriel turning 76. The same age that old Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia died of. Let's hope Peter Gabriel's good 20, 30 years left in him. Henry Rollins, we talked about. Henry Rollins, former Black Flag punk band singer, the Henry Rollins Band. I would call him a rock and roll intellectual, right? He always talks all intellectual-like. And he looks like a bodybuilder, and he talks like he's went to Yale. That guy. And the birthday, of course, of Randy Moss, one of the most freakishly talented football players in history. Born in 1977, so he's not quite 50, as he's 49. But Randy Moss just instantly killed all chances of the Green Bay Packers getting back to the Super Bowl for like 5 years. Way to go, Viking! Way to go, Packers! Not drafting Randy Moss. They had a chance to draft him, passed on him. No idea why. No idea. Still don't understand it.
Maybe they were hoping to trade for him, but they couldn't get a good trade. I don't know. It's a thing that some people do. I don't know.
Nope. He fell right to him in the draft, and he fell right to him in the draft and said, "We got to replace him. We got to do this and that and this and that." And I'm like, dude, Randy Moss, you don't even have to play defense anymore. You just outscore everybody. But whatever. They suffer from that bad decision. I never got over it. It's National No One Eats Alone Today, National Galentine's Day, it's National Tortellini Day, and National Cheddar Day. So put cheddar on your tortellini. Those kind of go together. I don't know what you put cheddar on your Italian.
You could do it. You can make a nice cheese-based sauce.
Parmesan, I would put. But anyway, those are your days for today, February 13th. Your mispronunciations, your haiku. Well, no haikus. We have limericks.
Yep, we're about to have haikus.
Metaphors, jokes, not me belching endlessly. For February 13th, 2026, on Before Cheddar and Tortellini.
On your Galentine's dinner where you never eat alone. I've got three haikus for you. First one.
Woohoo!
Oh, wait, was this the right? Wait, did I do the right day? I'm now worried that I did the wrong days stuff. Oh, I did do the wrong days. No. Anyways, these are the haikus for Sundays on this day in history. Whoops, my bad, guy. I was still looking, I was scrolling down to look for black people to talk about, and then... So, on Sunday, in the harbor's breadth, spirits rise from the ocean swell. To hell with Spain calls for the Spain invasion of the United States, I think. Remember the Maine, the USS Maine getting bombed attacked by...
You did all of them for the wrong day. I got you.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, nothing I covered. I got.
Stars dance in his sight. Galileo's lens reveal truth beyond night. Because it's Galileo's birthday on Sunday, on February 15th. So.
Well, that's cool.
That's pretty cool. I mean, we're gonna really miss all the. I should do this anyway. I should just cover days that we're gonna miss. Gather around the table. One meal. Many stories shared. Unity in meals. Because you never dine alone or never eat alone. That's for today. Oh, okay. That's for today.
That one covers today. Okay, I have no idea what the other two were, but yeah.
Remember the Maine? On this day in 1898, an explosion sank the USS Maine while it laid an anchor in Havana Harbor, and they blamed the Spanish for it. The Spanish in Cuba.
That was William Randolph Hearst, Patty Hearst's grandfather, causing a war. His reporters said something about this isn't war, and William Randolph Hearst was a publisher of a newspaper, San Francisco something or other. He said, "You provide the reporting, I'll provide the war." That was his direct quote. Well, you provide the reporting, I'll provide the war. Yeah, so that was started by a newspaper because we wanted to steal land from Spain.
Yeah, and then Galileo happened. He was born on February 15th, 1564. So Galileo.
Okay.
Very influential guy. Everyone knows him. Everyone's heard of him. If you haven't heard about him, go read about him, and you should know about him. It's also International UN Observance of Radio. That's right. One of the markers of mass media communication. Technically, I would consider the telegraph the first mass media communication, but radio really took it out of the water. Radio was like, everyone! So let's celebrate radio, and I guess in this case we're also celebrating radio and AI. I don't know why. I think, so the UN is going full AI now. They're like, okay, interesting. So according to the UN, AI can help strengthen the core mission of radio, informing, educating, and entertaining by using really bad fact gathering from scanning the internet, as we've talked about many times with ChatGPT. I don't think it's gonna reinforce listener trust. I have to disagree with this entire argument that they're giving here about, hey, AI will support deeper insights and fact checking. It's like, well, if it can fact check itself, but it can't. Fuck that shit. We're anti-AI here on Before Coffee, but radio's still important. I know a lot of people don't listen to the radio, but it's still a great way to learn stuff, learn what's going on in your local area, especially, and keep you informed. So that's all the days today for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nothing to celebrate for the UN there.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for being here for another Friday News Dump. We will see you after the weekend for Mucking Fun Day, so don't look at that news. We get you covered with the headlines on Monday. Go ahead and have yourself a good one. Make sure, if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the Before Coffee podcast channel. We need YouTube to know people enjoy our show and want to watch us, so the more subscribers, the more we get pushed onto their pages. Don't forget to turn that notification bell on if you want to know when we go live and post a video. And thank you everyone on Patreon, especially our Before Coffee supporters, for supporting the show and everything we do here on both our channels. Here is a respectful mic drop moment.
Yesterday, there was
I haven't seen it, so I'm hoping it's respectful.
A DC police officer and the monks that captured a lot of hearts.
Yeah, this concluded. We didn't conclude before Good Tuesday News Day.
Since they arrived
we'll
here in the nation's capital.
Their 15-week Walk for Peace has taken
the Good
Walk for
Tuesday
Peace.
more than 2,000 miles across the country to D.C. Single
They did
file,
it.
one step at a time.
Look at all the snow they still
as they crossed the
have.
Potomac River
Yeah.
into the city,
So
they were
it
greeted
piles
by
up.
Way more
a
snow than we
DC
do.
police officer.
They got
A
way more
moment
snow than we
captured
did.
by the
It's only
monk's
50
live
miles
stream.
north.
Officer Stephen Yuen is a 25-year veteran of the Metropolitan Police
We got
Department.
ice.
He tells
got
News
sleet.
4 the moment wasn't scripted. It just happened.
Yuen is usually a Vietnamese,
First of all,
Vietnamese
it's really
last name, I
hard
think.
to explain that, but for me, that I feel like
Likely
my
a
mind is
Buddhist.
very peaceful, and it's really hard to explain. Like I say, but I love it.
Nguyen greeted the monks with a traditional bow, in full gear, including a vest and weapon, bowing to the monks and presenting them with flowers.
For me, bowing
that
is
beautiful?
Because we show respect.
That you can go somewhere and find somebody,
And, thank you.
your
Usually we
culture,
show
in another place.
our heart
You know, freedom of movement all over the
them that we
planet. Love that.
respect them, and show our love to them.
Today, Nguyen was
And
again
walking for
at the
peace.
monks' side, guiding them as they made their way across Capitol Hill.
Yeah, it kind of speaks
I
for
asked him
itself. Not much to
reflect
say.
on his
Just
interaction with
hey,
the monks and
we're
the
all here
lesson he
together. It
hopes
ain't some other
everyone
planet
will
we can go
take from their
to.
presence.
I believe that's the first time I see like
No
people
matter how
come-
much
we
Leon
come
Musk
together
lies to you, you
regardless
can't go somewhere else.
Any type of religion, regardless any racism. We come together and actually let people very happy, and that
It's
I never
very
seen before in my
beautiful.
life.
Tear
Nguyen is
jerking.
far from the
I
first
even see
When
right
humans
wingers
do.
saying this
Along
nowadays.
their journey, law enforcement across the country made similar gestures. Many of those officers giving the
Oh,
monks
they're collecting badges like Boy
they now
Scouts.
All the law enforcement,
Yeah,
say,
like I
support them and love them.
used to
and
get
I
those
wish
patches, like law
we can love
enforcement
each
guys
other,
give me
like,
patches. I still got a few of them.
We got
yeah.
like I say from the beginning, regardless.
I mean, that's one thing religion
your
always
race,
has over just
faith,
any person,
everything.
right? It's more
I'm so
insulting to
happy.
punch a monk or a
With the Walk for
priest than to
Peace,
punch,
Mark Seagraves.
Stacy from down the road.
Monks will have a closing ceremony at the Lincoln
So religious
Memorial
people
before
are
they head
the
back
best
to Fort
people to
Worth,
protest
Texas
stuff
on
because, like,
Saturday.
you're gonna
From
punch a
there, the
nun.
monks
Good
will
luck.
walk
No one's
6
gonna like
miles
you if
to
you
the
punch a
temple
nun.
where their journey began.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.